Okay, next in our creative writing piece, we are going to work on developing characters that we really care about as readers. So let's take a look. What really does make us care about a character? We should really feel some sort of an emotion for them. So I have a couple of examples here. Unconsciously, she lifted her face as though wanting a kiss, but he held out his hand. She took it. We feel sorry for Mary in that one sentence, right? The details that are given there show us that they show versus telling, right? They show us that she wants a kiss, but he holds out his hand. It makes us feel uncomfortable. It makes us feel sad for her. It makes us realize she has certain feelings he doesn't. So we do, as a reader, feel something for them when we read that line. The next one is from yours. And the worst thing, the funniest, an already opened, extremely unkind letter from Clark's relations up north. You're an old fool, Allison read, and you're being cruelly deceived. Wow. So the way that they describe the letter as the worst and the funniest, extremely unkind, that word choice really does create an emotion. It doesn't just say there was an already opened letter from Clark's relations up north. It was the worst, the funniest, and extremely unkind. So you need to be challenged to go back into your story and say, where do I just say something really in a very boring way, like the letter, versus what can is in that letter that's going to give us some emotion. And then of course the content of the letter, right? You can do this in dialogue as well. You're being cruelly deceived. You're an old fool. Like those make us feel sorry for Allison and Clark. Okay, let's go through. The next thing is there has to be a conflict that they overcome. But I don't just have Henry was in the back of an ambulance and they tried to save his life. Henry sat ominously still. The word choice matters. I didn't just say Henry sat in the back of an ambulance. He sat ominously still and he quietly observed. You need to make sure you are giving word choice visual, descriptive details that also make us feel emotion and help to develop the conflict. Don't be so direct. You want to really make sure you are thinking about how you can bring these ideas to life, that you are showing us and not telling. You're not touching this baby, she said. The baby had begun to cry, and she uncovered the blanket from around his head. So clearly, this is a major conflict that the mom is worried that he might touch and hurt the baby. And we also first get a feel for that the baby is now crying because the baby is sensing this fight that is happening. So there's a conflict here that Henry is terrified of what's happening to keep somebody alive. The other conflict is that the mom's worried about the father hurting the baby, and the baby is sensing that. The next is their backstory. Not every flash fiction story we read has a backstory, but when they do, they're really powerful. So Early Autumn does an excellent job with this. When Bill was very young, they had been in love. Many nights they'd spent walking, talking together. Then something not very important had come between them, and they didn't speak. Impulsively, she married a man she thought she loved. Bill went away bitter about women. So when I look at that, right? And then the story brings us to present day. That's the first paragraph of Early Autumn to give us that backstory, but you can put that backstory at any point during your flash fiction moment in time, right? Just after any event. And this one is from Unbreakable Mind, which we didn't read as a class, but you could read it on your own. And this is in the middle of the story. As I watched Aster grow, I watched my dad decay. And now we get the backstory. At first, he couldn't remember his keys, then my birthday, then the dog's name, then my name. In the early stages, no one thought it might be so serious. A man trying to juggle a full time job and raise a family tends to forget things every now and then. And this is watching her father's journey with Alzheimer's. So we get the background of all the events that kind of led up to where they currently are. The fourth thing is external characteristics. How do they dress? What is their body language? What are their actions? Yours does an excellent job here. Allison wore a natural hair wig. It was a thick blonde hood around her face. She was dressed in bright dyed denims today. She wore durable clothing usually, for she volunteered afternoons at a children's daycare center. So much in there. by her physical description, a natural hair wig, the denims, she wore durable clothing, and her actions that she volunteered in the afternoon, right? You're not giving everything away, but you are not just stating it, oh, she was nice because she worked with kids. You are not just telling us that. You are showing us through how she dressed and what she does. And then the same here. She turned and tried from Popular Mechanics. She turned and tried to hold the baby over in a corner behind the stove. Like I can visually see that imagery that she is physically holding the baby over. But he came up, he reached across the stove and tightened his hands on the baby. Their actions make us feel worried about the baby here, right? So we care about the character. We care about Allison because this develops her to be like somebody nice, kind, but also maybe sick. So there are four ways we can develop characters. We should feel an emotion for them. There should be some conflict they need to overcome. What is their backstory and external characteristics? I want you to go into your story now. And in three different areas of your story, I want you to develop the characters in some way. It can be any of these, it doesn't have to be all four for each one. And then highlight the changes in this bright pink and purple so that I can quickly see what you did in your doc. Okay, good luck.